On today's Hot Home, we're going to be joined by my good friend John Correia, and they call him Minister Malice. He's YouTube famous, and if you haven't seen his stuff, you need to go watch it for sure. That's coming up on this episode of the Hot Zone.
This is the Hot Zone. Engaging with the news in a whole new way, international war correspondent Chuck Holton brings insight into areas of crisis and lets you help those affected.
All right, we've got John Correia with us today, and in his house, in his
here I am in Ask Corporate Headquarters.
Checkerboard headquarters there.
Yeah, so people ask me about this all the time, and they're like, "Wait a minute, is that like a Masonic symbol or whatever?" No, man, they're audio tiles. They just shape the sound so that I don't get so much echo.
I do the same thing. You know, when you live it sounds like you're in a toilet if you don't have that on the walls in a regular room.
And I tell folks the checkerboard pattern is just because I ran out of money before I could get all of them. So I'll get the other ones soon.
Yeah. Subscribe on the ASP channel, and then we'll.
Yeah. Help me buy more sound shaping tiles.
Well, hey, thanks for coming on with us. Tell us a little bit real quick about how you got started with ASP and where you are today.
Yeah, it started off just as me trying to help people. You know, I'm a firearms instructor and I'm a teacher at my core, pastored a church for 15 years. So trying to help people. And part of that is helping them keep their families safe from criminal violence. And as video technology really picked up, I started doing these self-defense real-life encounters, what really happened to real people, and then talking about lessons learned so that families can keep themselves safe from criminal violence. And that's just exploded. It's my full-time gig now, my only job now, in fact. And we got about a little over 1.3 million subscribers on the main YouTube channel. I have a second YouTube channel, which has got in the mid-60,000s. Our Facebook page reaches a lot of people. I just try my best to teach people to keep themselves and their families safe from harm.
Well, I think I've got about 0.3 subscribers, so I'm getting there.
Those are the hardest ones to get, Chuck.
The first 0.3 is always the hardest.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk about some hot zones that I've been to personally, and that I've heard you talk a lot about, and that is the favelas of Brazil. You've seen a ton of really violent stuff come out of there. Tell me a little bit about what you know about the area and about what you've seen there.
Yeah, so Brazil makes up about 23% of the main channel narrations on the Active Self-Protection channel.
Wow.
About a quarter of the videos. Now, for folks that think that that's a crazy number, the U.S. makes up about 46%. I think the disparity there is because I'm a native English speaker. I live in the U.S., so those come to me a little easier. But Brazil is definitely number 2 by a wide margin. No other country is close. And some of that is because it's an odd place, Brazil, because they have some significant technological jumps, right? Like recording technology. Everybody records because, especially in the favelas, it's very dangerous. And so to protect themselves, and in their legal system, it's required for them to protect themselves, they have to have video evidence. Getting people to testify against drug gangs is just not going to happen. So having some objective evidence is big. And then the second thing is you have this toxic brew there that we see all over the world, but it's really significantly concentrated there. So they've got not quite our population from the U.S., but around 220, 230 million people, but they're concentrated so tightly into the cities. So for instance, Sao Paulo, which is, the place where bad things are going to happen. If you're getting into bad stuff in Brazil, it's Sao Paulo or Rio are your two big spots. Their population density there about 4 times what we have in Los Angeles County in the U.S. And if you've ever been to L.A., you know it's tight packed by our standards. 4 times that in Sao Paulo, with a median income that's about 10% of Los Angeles. So what you have is incredible poverty, incredible population density, civilian disarmament, which is starting to come around a little bit with the new president, Bolsonaro, but and rampant drug use, rampant gangs, And so when you put all that together, the only people allowed to carry firearms in Brazil off duty, out in public are police officers, MPs.
Mm-hmm.
We'd call them just regular police officers. They're in Brazil, Polícia Militar. So, that's cops.
Yeah.
And not, we think MP and we think military police, but that's not what it means.
No, but they militarized their police because of the corruption and stuff years ago.
They don't joke around. The police in Brazil would make you think here of a Ranger battalion. I mean, it's not a joke. And those guys get killed for their guns that they're carrying off duty. They know. I have several police friends in Brazil, and they carry off duty, but they know if they get made as a cop, they're going to get murdered for their gun. If a criminal makes them as a cop, they're going to get murdered that night unless they do something about it. So, it's like you'd expect, like anywhere else, right? Most people in Brazil are just good people, and they're just trying to live their lives, and they're just trying to feed their families, and they're just trying to have peace. But as happens, there's a small minority of people, these predators that mean it for harming folks, and it's a huge crisis, and that's actually why when you look at the last election cycle, why their president Bolsonaro was elected. His big plank on his election was to liberalize firearms laws, and in the classic sense, right? Allow more good people to protect themselves because the criminal element is so rampant there. And you know this, you've been there, that there are neighborhoods that the military, that the Ranger battalion, right? The militarized police will not go into. They just, we don't control that.
Not without armored vehicles. I mean, they'll literally take tanks into some of these neighborhoods when they go in on the pacification program. So when we were there last year, we went out with BOPE, that's their special operations police, and watched them on their training as they go through a favela that's already been cleared. And the idea that the previous president had was a pacification process, and that is sending the military into these neighborhoods with armored vehicles, with all totally jocked up, and actually taking down the criminal element. Well, the problem is, you have the gangs who run the neighborhood, and then you have all the other little petty criminals that'll just steal everything, steal anything and everything from you. Because, as you said, that poverty is so bad, and it's kind of wormed its way into the culture. So,
Sure.
And I've seen this in places like Lebanon. I've seen it in places in Europe, in the bad neighborhoods in France, where it just is almost like the value of life just declines little by little over time. And it gets to the point where people would kill you for your sneakers. You see it in Baltimore. You see it in South Chicago. And that is, you have that in spades in Brazil. And, as I've followed your work, and as I've continued to go to these kinds of places, I've gotten to the point now that I've watched you so much that I literally hear your voice in my head when I'm walking around in a bad neighborhood doing my job. When I was in Cúcuta, Colombia the other day, I was out on the street at night, and I was going, this is a transitional space. I should not be talking into this camera right now because
John is going to yell
compromises. Yeah, John's going to have my head if he finds this out. And so, you're really making a difference. Tell me about some of the feedback you've gotten from people who have said you've made a difference in what I do now in my life.
Yeah, we get messages all the time. I say we, it's not a one-man operation. Particularly my executive officer, Stephanie Widener, she takes a lot of messages too, emails and Facebook messages and private messages. And people talk to us all the time. Man, you saved my life. Now, of course, we always say, I didn't save your life. You saved your life. What happened? And here's the thing with surveillance video, what we can do if we're smart about it and we use it for an educational purpose is that it can give us the information without the risk. Your brain can't really differentiate between live and virtual. So seeing somebody go through what people go through, you get the benefit of that without having to risk life and limb. And so I get people all the time. The ones that I hear all the time are transitional spaces. People say, man, I saw this thing going down and I heard your voice in my head. You're in a transitional space. Be careful. Pay attention. And I did, and I saw this, and I got the heck out of there. Hallelujah. I've had multiple people that have said, hey, John, one of the big things we say in an armed robbery, somebody sticks a gun in your face, you got to wait your turn. If they've got a gun in your face and their eyeballs on you, and you try to draw a gun and you try to, go after them, that's a real great recipe to get shot. So wait your turn. And they said, man, I heard you in my head. Wait your turn, wait your turn, wait your turn. And my turn came and I took it and I won the day. So those kind of things happen. And really what I hear people all the time is that I have taught them to pay attention to their world, to prepare in advance. So then that way they have their tools on them wherever they live. That depends on what they can carry. That they are paying attention in the spaces they're most likely to get attacked. And they use that time to buy them options to get the heck out of there.
Talk about your 5 rules of stupid.
So yeah, this is John Farnham's law, right? It's Farnham's law as amended, and originated not by me, but by John Farnham, who a very decorated, Vietnam vet, 3 Purple Hearts. He would jokingly call that 3 Forgot to Duck Awards. And John says, first of all, the rules of stupid are simple. Do not go stupid places with stupid people. At stupid times is the one that I've amended. He kind of puts that at the end. I put it in the middle. And do stupid things. So stupid places. What are stupid places? Pretty much anywhere that has the public consumption of alcohol is a stupid place. Anywhere that is gathering for sexual activity, bars, or brothels, or nightclubs, places like that.
Or the downtown street in Cucuta, Colombia at 11 o'clock.
Cucuta, Colombia, probably difficult there. And Walmart, we joke, is in many places. Actually, statistically, Walmart is very dangerous. The Walmarts have a very high crime rate around the nation. So you can usually get away with breaking 1 rule of stupid, but if you do break 2 or more, man, you start to have significant problems. So if you happen to be in a stupid place, do not be around stupid people. They hold my beer and watch this, folks. And I tell folks all the time, if you look around at your friends group and you can't identify who the stupid friend is, you likely are the stupid friend, and you need to change your ways. And so don't go places with stupid people. That stupid person is the one who's always nudging you to do the thing you know better than, right? The one who's like, hold my beer and watch this. So don't go. You can be around your stupid friend, just don't break any of the other rules, right? Because sometimes your stupid friend is fun. I get it. Stupid times. Good people, generally speaking, are not out between midnight and 5 a.m. Really 10 p.m. I mean, if you want your life to get infinitely easier and less likely to have problems, be at home in bed by 10 p.m. And I get it. People are like, but all the fun stuff happens late at night, and they live in New York City, and they like being out at 3 o'clock in the morning. Man, cockroaches come out at night, and you got to recognize that between midnight and 5 a.m., good people are either home in bed or they're at work. That's really the only places that they are. And the criminals love the cover of darkness. They love that. It lets them get away much faster, lets them launch attacks from much greater ambush. So that's stupid time, midnight to 5 a.m. Don't be out. And don't do stupid things, right? So what are the stupid things you can do? Oh, I don't know. Deal drugs, do drugs. It's a violent world when you're dealing with drug dealers. Whether you are one or you're interacting with one, they're dangerous folk. It's a dangerous occupation. Again, the sex trade. If you go out and you hire a prostitute, that is an inherently dangerous activity, and bad juju is going to happen. Being out at the bar is doing stupid stuff because drunk people are trying to impress each other and hook up. And so it's, and of course, other dumb stuff. Don't get involved in gangs. Don't get involved in crime. If you're not doing those things, you're probably okay. So if you're not out with your stupid buddy, you're not out there doing criminal stuff, you're home in bed by 10 p.m., and you're almost certainly not going to have problems. But people ignore me, and that's why I'm in business.
Well, you need to write a book because those are some very, very powerful lessons. And I love just keeping up with you on social media, listening to your lessons. I highly recommend other people do so as well. It's a real privilege to know you. You were a pastor for 15 years. Just last question. And I love that you talk a lot in your videos about spiritual fitness, because in a lot of those videos it goes wrong and people end up dead. And I think that it is probably eternally the most important thing that you do. That is your ministry now. Would you say so?
It's part of my ministry for sure. I mean, I'm still involved in the Great Commission, right? Jesus didn't say, go and make disciples of all the nations as long as you're being paid by a church. He said, no, just go do it. So I'm still involved in making disciples every day. And part of that now is talking about spiritual fitness. So you're right. About a third of the videos on my channel are what we call negative outcomes, what Claude Werner would call a negative outcome. So Good people don't always win despite their best efforts. And so what I say with folks with spiritual fitness is, and what that means to me, is that you want to have said everything you need to say to your family every single day. Don't leave things unsaid. Don't leave problems unsolved. Never pass up an opportunity to tell your loved ones that you love them, that they're special to you, and that you're thinking of them. Because you may never get another opportunity from multiple places, and that's not just self-defense from criminal behavior. I have a friend who was just in a horrific accident and lost her mom and dad instantly. And so having that in advance, incredibly important. And secondly, of course, you need to have your relationship with Jesus strong, because you may not get advance notice on that day. Again, my friend who lost her mom and dad instantly, and they didn't have an opportunity to spend any time with the Lord in advance. And you may not get any opportunity either, whether that's from criminal violence or otherwise. So now's the time to prepare for that. And of course, you and I both know that God loves us immensely and wants a relationship with us. And by simple trust in the person and work of Jesus, that you have eternity with God. And that is something to rest in for every day of our lives. So,
and I think, I mean, just from my own experience, John, that having that relationship takes away the fear that would potentially make me make a bad decision in a place like that. I don't go into those places afraid. I go into them aware, but there's a big difference between aware and afraid. And if I'm not motivated by fear or comfort, my life is going to be better than it would be otherwise. There's no two ways about it.
100%. I think that when you have spiritual fitness, when you have your eyes set on eternity, and listen, if today's the day, it's going to be the best day of my life, because I'm going to wake up in the arms of Jesus, and it'll be okay. I will be sad for my family left behind, but excited to see them come to me. So having that gives me great comfort, and having the attitude and the skills and the plan lets me minister to people in a way that I just couldn't without it. It lets me, and you've seen this. I mean, gosh, man, and that one from Colombia, you're sitting on a park bench with a guy who you're like, hold on a minute. If you weren't who you are, I would have been so worried if that was anybody else. But I'm like, it's Sergeant Holden. It's fine. It'll be fine. I hope that guy's not dumb enough to try something on Chuck, because Chuck will twist him into a pretzel. But, spiritual fitness gives us a compassion for people, and it also gives us what we know is our destiny. And since we know the end, we've read the end of the book, we know where this ends, and so we can go about life without fear.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on with us. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and I really do appreciate your work, and I thank you for that. And I hope our listeners will also go check you out. So
I appreciate you, Chuck. Like I always say, man, you are one of my favorite dudes, and I appreciate the work you do, because I'm not going to Venezuela, and I'm not going to Syria, and I pray for you all the time, bro.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, that's it for today's Hot Zone. Make sure you go check out the Active Self-Protection channel on YouTube, and pick up some of his merchandise if he'd ever get some on his website. So that was a little dig there. I want t-shirts.
Maybe I caught it.
I want awesome t-shirts. All right. God bless you, man. We'll see you.
The Hot Zone is produced by Amy Holton and Livefire Media. Copyright 2019.